Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by rockauto.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb. Welcome to MotorWeek podcast number 258. And joining us Zoom style today is our senior executive producer, Dave Scribner. Dave? Well, that was kind of a muffled. Is that those antique walls you're sitting in? Our writer, two-wheeling reporter, Brian Robinson.
Hello, John, and everyone else.
And our over-the-edge reporter and podcast producer, Greg Carlos.
Hey.
Okay, we got a full slate today, 3 vehicles to talk about, a lightning round. We even have a viewer question from Missy. We'll see if anybody's got any rant and raves. Dave hasn't joined us for a while, so maybe he does. But anyway, let's get rolling. And okay, maybe I'm the only person on the planet that was confused slightly for how to pronounce this. The 2023 Cadillac Lyriq. Greg, you want to tell us what it is, why we should be interested in it, and what has GM got in store for us?
Yeah, so this one is actually ahead of schedule by a few months. That's kind of a surprise. So this is an all-electric SUV, and I hear all the gas now. Oh my gosh, another all-electric SUV. Well, guess what? That's just what it is now. It's going to be all-electric SUVs and sedans occasionally. So this is Cadillac's first all-electric vehicle, the SUV. So it's a 2023, so it will, even though it's ahead of schedule, it won't come into production. They're saying until early 2022, which is, almost a year from now. So it sticks styling-wise to what we've seen from Cadillac. They've got the same, what do they call that? A black
Art
crystal grille.
Well, I don't even know what they call it anymore. It started life as art and science, but basically it looks like
years ago, wasn't it?
Huh?
That was 15 years ago.
I know. But I didn't care for it then, but I think I like it better now. Maybe I've just gotten used to it, but it's pretty bold.
If you've seen one of the newer Cadillacs, you'll instantly know that this is a Cadillac by the grille, which is really doesn't have like a real grille because it doesn't need one because it's all electric. Speaking of that all electric platform, it's the Ultium platform, which GM uses across all their brands. They're going to say over 300 miles of range. This is all Cadillac estimates right now. We don't know specifics. 100 kilowatt hour battery. They're saying horsepower. I'm looking through my numbers here. Over 340, expected 340 horsepower. Sorry. And I think what they're looking for is probably one of like the bigger, I think more interesting pieces of news about this one is that the home charging capabilities will be the best in the class with a 19.2 kilowatt charging module.
Yeah, they said that you can get, I think I'm remembering, almost 60 miles worth of range in 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah, and that's at home.
Like right. 240 volt.
Yeah, so when you hear of all these fast charging situations from other EVs, you hear of it. That's DC fast charging, which nobody's really going to have at home. That's when you go somewhere and get one of those big, thick cables and really get it charged to like 100 miles in 10 minutes or whatever they say it is. So this will enhance your capability at home. So if you're home for like your lunch break and you need some range, you can get up to 52 miles, they say, which is a pretty big deal. Inside, we're looking like an Escalade. If anybody recalls that massive 33-inch screen that goes across essentially the whole dash, Essentially the same thing here. Very futuristic looking inside. Minimalist is the key word or the buzzword with all these EVs. But back to the exterior styling, I think I kind of glanced over that earlier. This is an SUV, but to me, it looks more like a wagon just lifted up a little bit. Kind of if you think of an old CTS wagon, along those lines, just sits a little bit higher.
So how big is it? Are we talking something about the size of a Mach-E Mustang or a Tesla X or Y, or what are we looking? X. What are we looking at size-wise?
Size-wise,
Do we know?
I don't know if we have dimensions yet. I'm looking at it from a profile right now. It looks longer than a Mach-E, but not quite as tall. But that could be deceiving because like we've seen in the Mach-E,
Picture.
it looks like it's sloping, but it actually has quite a bit of rear headroom.
Brian, do you know any more details?
No, it's definitely mid-size, smaller than Escalade. I think similar in size to the Mazda CX-9, just from the looks of it. As far as what Greg was saying with the styling, I don't know if it looks so much like current Cadillacs or not. I think it looks better. I think a lot of the recent Cadillacs have been more showy. This one kind of looks more classy to me, a little more rounded, not chiseled. I like the looks of it. You don't necessarily know it's an EV by looking at it. It just looks like a really nice Cadillac SUV. And they're bringing out the rear wheel drive only base model first, which is the exact opposite of what they're doing when over on the GMC Hummer side. You got to have to wait another 2-3 years to get the base model on that. So I'm intrigued by that. But I'm looking forward to driving it for sure.
I kind of want to know more about this regen on demand. They have a new, like an updated system. Remember the ELR was one of the first cars to have the actually paddle activated regen. So you could activate the regen braking with a paddle. And now this one, they're claiming that I think it's actually pressure sensitive. So you might be able to, I would assume, like dial in certain amounts by how hard you pull on it.
Certain cars have the panels to adjust the sensitivity of it. Is it like that, you think?
I
Like
understood it as like it actually it doesn't necessarily change the aggressiveness of it. It just actually engages the regen braking.
Yeah, you can. It's like a handbrake. You can actually use the paddles as a brake.
Which you can do on the Bolt EV as well. I mean, people,
Right.
that's what people use to do the one pedal driving. So I'm assuming with that you'd be able to do one pedal driving if you want to. I'm not a fan of that, but
One pedal in one hand.
Yeah. Yes, one pedal. And by the way, it will have the latest version of Super Cruise on it. So
Yeah. I will
Dave,
note
any
that
comment?
not on this, no. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person.
Well, while I'm on you, let's go to the second vehicle, and here we go. It's another EV.
What do you know?
2022 Mercedes-Benz EQS, a big sedan, like the size of an S-Class, I guess. Take it away.
Similar to the S-Class. It's the first model to come out from the EQS. Is it EQ or EQS sub-brand from Mercedes, all electric. Comes in both rear-wheel drive or 4MATIC. The 4MATIC one has electric motor at both axles for a total of like 516 horsepower. Both saying 300 plus mile range. The 96,000 to start, which I guess puts it in the league with Tesla and probably gives them a run for the money. Very much in technology, certainly in styling, certainly material quality, fit and finish. The interior is gorgeous on this car. The exterior has what they call a one arc design. It kind of slopes.
What do you think about the looks of it? I mean, the original,
I mean, I like
the drawings were really, I thought,
doesn't look
but
jelly beanish.
yeah.
Like it could. It has a lot of midline character lines to offset the single arc, so it's not just a doorstop or a jelly bean. The headlights are pretty trick. It has digital light headlights. With each lamp uses like 1.3 million mirrors to help focus the light, and you can put patterns on the ground like a faux crosswalk to warn pedestrians it's safe to cross in front of me. Or
Would I trust the driver to do that?
I've never have enough time to figure out which button to push to, but I mean, Mercedes, you expect the quality and technology to be there, and I think they finally have someone who can steal some Tesla sales in that realm of luxury EVs.
I think it was you, Robinson, who made the comment and I think we have an upcoming first look on it, that it's the first true luxury EV sedan. Like where some EV sedans were luxurious, but this is like a luxury EV sedan.
EVS class, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't get away without talking about the entire face of the dash is touch panel screens going across. It's got a lot of high tech in it. They claim their batteries are more dense, energy dense than anyone else's batteries to this point, which should be pretty cool. And they say you can charge them with up to 200 kilowatts, which is way more than what anyone else can use. I'm not sure if that's all just marketing speak, but What was your take on the two-tone paint? Not a fan.
Throwback. I thought it looked odd on it. On that battery thing, though, they are talking 400 mile range, which is elevated from what most people have
Yeah,
planned.
that's the Euro numbers. I'm not sure they'll really translate to our numbers
Saying
here.
300 plus for the EPA cycle. The Europeans always a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah.
It's
So
I'm definitely going to stop short of calling it beautiful because it's so, I don't know. It's almost like what everybody thought a futuristic car was going to look like 30 years ago, which is now not necessarily cool, in my opinion. But
it's interesting looking, but I'm glad they did it with a sedan, but I wonder, since even Tesla is, recognizing that the market is in SUVs, if they are not going to follow this up we've already seen some of their other ideas, and I think they'll be following it up with some kind of a SUV on that chassis soon. But speaking of Tesla, they just set record profits and record deliveries. So, they're increasingly going to be the target for everybody to aim at.
For as many people,
go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say, for as many people and comments we get about not liking EVs, they're starting to sell more and more of them. So,
yep.
Yeah, and if anybody gives you a hard time about the way it looks, just remind them it's the most air efficient car ever to this point. So,
is that right? Wow.
Yes.
It was a fun press release to read because they were like, "It is the most air efficient car ever made, ever, all time in history."
Aero.
It's a piece of paper, flat.
Let's now talk about something that actually still uses an internal combustion engine. The 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz. How long have we been looking at the Santa Cruz, a small pickup truck from Hyundai to come? Is it 10 years, 8 years? It's been a long time.
2015 concept vehicle.
There you go.
And if you go back before that, when the original Hyundai Genesis came out, I went to their proving grounds to drive that, and they had trucks running around back then.
Wow.
So testing them. So they've been looking at trucks for a long time. It's interesting up to this point. It's been Subaru's job to make really small pickup trucks that no one really wants.
No, the Brat.
And the Baja, yeah. So I guess they haven't made one in a while, so Hyundai's picking up the slack. But I think the timing is good. Trucks are getting so big and so expensive. We really do need smaller, more affordable options. I know Ford, they're working on a Maverick, which is smaller than the Ranger. That should be out next year. And but having said that, is it too small? It's not based on the midsize Santa Fe, so it's not Ridgeline size. It's based on the Tucson compact, so it's more Baja size, Brat size. But the cool thing about it, if you've seen the new Tucson, which is also all new for 22, it's got a really big black grille, and then it widens as it goes up to the top towards where the headlights would be. But instead of stopping at the headlights, it actually goes over top of the headlights. The headlights are behind the grille. So that's kind of cool. But from there back, it's all Tucson. So you get back to the C-pillar. So inside, it's got plenty of room. The Tucson's pretty roomy for the compact segment. The C-pillar is really chunky. And then the bed kind of descends from there to the end, kind of like the original Ridgeline, if you remember that. Super short bed, only 4.5 feet.
Yeah.
But being front wheel drive, it's got the cargo bed or cargo area inside the bed like the Ridgeline has. Other cool features, it's got the integrated tonneau cover in the front of the bed. If you just roll it back, there's like channels in the side of the bed, so you can keep everything out of the weather and locked up. And it's 2.5 liter engine, i4. You can get a regular or turbo. Turbo is like 275 horsepower. Same thing, it's in the Kia K5 GT. So according to them, it'll tow 5,000 pounds, which I don't know. That's enough engine to do it, but that's short of a wheelbase. I don't know, but that's a lot of power for a little truck. It's going to be fun for sure.
There are all the press materials, they're calling it mid-size, but if you look at the length, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's 17 inches shorter than a Colorado, but it's about the same size as the last compact Ford Rangers. So really it's a compact truck. And I think the Maverick is probably going to fall into that too. Any other comments? Is it too small? What do you think?
I don't think it's too small. a pickup truck bed is a pickup truck bed. And the reason we like them so much is just because you can just throw all your dirty stuff in the back and move on. And that tonneau cover is like perfect for like what they're marketing it for, which is people who live in a city and then go out and do stuff on the weekend, which, by the way, literally every manufacturer who makes like a small crossover says this. They're like, it's for the person who lives in the city and likes to go do things on the weekend. And like Hyundai actually says, okay, well, let's make it a pickup truck. Let's like actually let these people do stuff in it. So, I mean, I'm excited to drive one, and I do think they actually hit the mark on this one.
I mean, Toyota just introduced a Sienna with all-wheel drive and a raised ground clearance for families to go out. Like, right. You wouldn't go to Moab with it, but
you go to the ski resorts in snowy weather,
cabin or whatever. And yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's exciting. We've needed some smaller than what we've had pickup trucks for a while. We know it's Hyundai, so it's going to be priced right. I think that's going to give the Ford Maverick some run for its money. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a good expansion of the market, but it just took them a long time to bring it to the market. Boy. All right. Thanks, everybody. Let's move on to our lightning round. We used to say we had 30 seconds to talk about this, but it's an open forum. This is a very interesting one. We've really never talked about anything like this, I don't think, on our podcast before. For the second year in a row, the nonprofit Drive Towards a Cure will be raising funds for Parkinson's disease and encouraging enthusiasts to simply get out and drive. Get away from these Zoom meetings and go see what it's like to still remember how to drive a car. For a $20 registration fee, entrants will be eligible for weekly random drawings and prizes, including gift cards worth over $100, autographed books, racing shoes and apparel, limited edition posters, artwork, and a lot more. So it's a very good cause. But really, I want to use this to ask each of you, or all four of us really, if you had a chance to plan your dream drive in any car, what would it be? Assuming it's a car that will get you there. No.
Sure. All right, I'll start off. Well, in the past 8 months, I haven't sat still. I've covered 12,000 miles on work trips across 24 states. I'm adding 3,000 more miles next month, driving to Tulsa and back.
All socially distanced and doing the
low trips.
COVID priorities. And
plus, Texas on the Valentine's Day snowstorm was not a lot of fun, but interesting trip nonetheless. My all-time favorite U.S. road is Route 70 from Denver to Grand Junction. I've driven it several times, everything from a Viper GTS to a Winnebago. The scenery, the road's in great shape. It's well engineered. Goes beside the river for a certain point. It's just a gorgeous road to drive, fast or slow. The car to drive it in, for me, I'm shopping for one kind of half-heartedly now. Don't tell my wife. 2009 Audi S8 V10.
Wow.
They were about 120 grand new, and they're about 20 grand now.
I think my dad's friend recently bought one or flipped. He had one for a little bit. He very much gets a car, sells it, and moves on.
I love those big sedans with a little bit of power to them, and just cruise all day in it. Yeah, I did the Fiat 500X to Fargo, the Kia Seltos to Dallas and back, and I drove the TLX Acura to California and back most recently. And I prefer kind of an SUV for a road trip just for visibility, but I could get used to the Audi pretty quick, I think.
Greg or Brian?
Yeah, I actually put a little bit of thought into this one. I think I would go, I need something, the car naturally aspirated, V8 or higher, V8 or V10. I think I would go probably like a Ferrari 328, 308, something in that era. Targa.
Okay.
Amalfi Coast, maybe. I went there once in college, which was absolutely beautiful. It scared me to death that we were driving like a 30 passenger bus or whatever it was. And the driver is just like cruising on the coast. And we are like, what seems like inches from falling over the edge. But I think driving around in a roofless Ferrari would be pretty cool.
Brian?
Yeah, actually, we do a big scenic drive every year somewhere in the country. So I've been a lot of all over the country, a lot of cool roads. I was actually planning last summer doing the loneliest road in America in
I've done that.
Nevada. So yeah, I did it a long time ago, but it's been a while. I'd like to get back there. So that would be, since I have that one planned, I guess that would be my dream one. The vehicle would be, if I was solo, I'd want to be on a Triumph Tiger Explorer 1200. If I had my old lady along, I would definitely go with the Indian Roadmaster because I like to keep my girl comfortable. But a road that I've done, I'd like to do again. The whole coastline in Washington State is amazing, and it's like, if not better, just as good as California, but with 10% of the traffic. It really is gorgeous.
Mine is is also a throwback, as most of everybody else's has been. Back when I first joined Maryland Public Television, shortly after I did, I bought a 1973 Di Tommaso Pantera, and some of the most enjoyable drives I ever took with my soon-to-be wife at the time, Cheryl, were just anywhere. We'd get in it and go, and if it didn't break down, we had a really wonderful time. But I'd really like to do that sort of in the one that got away, because I was trying to choose between two cars. I had the Pantera, which had an American Ford engine in it, and at the same time, you could buy a 72 Dino, Ferrari Dino, for about the same amount of money. And the Ferrari aspect scared me a little bit, and the Fiat engine scared me a little, so I didn't. Of course, I should have, because that's worth a whole lot more than the Panteras are today. But give me a 72 Dino that's been gone over well. And the trip I'd like to take actually is up and down. I'd like to start in the end of the interstate in Maine and drive all the way to Key West and not get on any interstates, just do back roads the whole way, not set any distance, just probably hug the coast as much as possible and take whatever time it takes. For once in my life, I'd like actually the journey to not be to a calendar or a time clock, but that's mine. Yeah, nice. I think the Dino would be kind of fun.
I'd take any one of them, guys.
Yeah, it sounds like we've all got good, terrific ideas. So.
I just now remembered, Scriv, remember our last trip in 2019, maybe, with Porsche? They just handed us the keys, me to this 996 GT3, and Scriv had a 991 Speedster, and we were just ripping through Sonoma, and these cars are just like, sure guys, take them.
Meet you at lunch.
Yeah.
It's tough work, but somebody's got to do it.
I know.
Thanks everybody. A good cause, by the way. Drive towards a cure. We have a viewer question from Missy. Where do y'all, I guess Missy's from the South, where do y'all film your driving shots? The background is gorgeous. Greg, I'm going to let you approach that one, since you're involved with the road testing every day.
We've got
say
it. What? What'd you say, Brian?
Just say, don't say it. Don't say it.
Undisclosed locations.
Undisclosed technically, but I'll say we hang around. So we're in Maryland.
Right.
We hang around the Baltimore County, Carroll County area. Sometimes we'll make it out to Frederick County. The roads are purposefully pastoral and away from people, because as much as we like to talk to people, we also have to get work done. So as long as there's not a lot of cars driving through, and those are the roads we've picked. But
we have a very compact shooting schedule, Missy, but when they go out, they're basically looking for roads with minimal traffic, roads where in many cases we've gotten to know all the people that live along the road, so they don't mind us turning around in our driveways. But we live in a state that's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you get away from the big cities, and it's a beautiful state to drive in. So
they want roads that are sunny without the dappling of the shade, because it plays their cameras. But it's hard to find a sunny road that has curves to it. A lot of the farms are laid out in squares, so you get a lot of straight roads in the sun where crops grow, and the shady stuff's in the woods.
Plus, also these days, another reason we do what Dave just mentioned is after we shoot the drive-bys and the GoPro shots, we then launch the drones. And so you need to be able to see the car overhead. And I will say our videographers are so good that they basically in about a 2.5-hour stretch can shoot the drive-bys, shoot the drone shots, shoot the GoPro, and move on to the next car. And that's the kind of production schedule we have. It's a lot harder, Missy, when we go shoot cars in another location where a manufacturer might be doing an introduction. It usually is not nearly as difficult, but thank you very much for the compliment. But it's a good compliment to the state of Maryland. Very pretty back roads. Well, that kind of runs through the main agenda. Does anybody have a rant or rave? Dave, you haven't been on in a while. Anything?
I don't actually, John. I'm going pretty good these days.
So you mentioned that snowstorm that you got stuck in heading west. Was there any driving behavior there that drove you crarazy? Because you spent a lot of time in that TLX.
I was pretty impressed. First I got to Texas and I thought, yeah, I've got Texas. I'm almost there. And it says El Paso, 900 miles. It's like, good Lord. Drive as fast as you want, you'll still be here all day. But then the snowstorm hit. I tried to go south to avoid it, but I hit the snow and the ice storm anyway. And for hours, I was driving on Interstate 10, following a set of tire tracks alone on the interstate with no one around me. When there were cars, before they started pulling off, they all got in a slow lane, but their flashers on at 20 miles an hour. And I was flying by at 35.
Yankee.
The lane discipline was great, I thought. Despite Texas not being used to snow and ice, that they might have been too scared to go in the fast lane. They just all got in line and went down the road at a trudge's pace. It was fine.
That's good.
I figured if I stopped now, I'd be stuck for 2 days with no power. I had to be in California where it's warmer. Just keep heading south, young man, and go.
You were texting the whole way, and it's like
not while he was driving.
Wipers off. The wipers kept icing up.
Yeah.
The only fault with the Acura, I think.
Anybody else got anything?
Dave, did you do the old reach out the window and grab when the wipers were too icy?
There was no one on the road, so I stopped where I was in the road. The wipers and kept going and never saw a car.
It was the fact you made that trip in that kind of weather. It was a good testament to the Acura TLX you were driving.
It was. I took it all-wheel drive on purpose.
Yeah.
I would have taken an SUV, but one wasn't available. And I was with all-season tires that did just fine. It's made to go through stuff like that.
Pretty amazing.
And don't be scared of it. Just drive sensibly and slowly and keep moving.
Just remember, just because it's got four-wheel drive, the brakes won't necessarily stop you.
We passed a lot of cars on the median strip on the outside of off-camber turns. They just slid right off the road.
Yeah.
And I slowed down to 10 and just creeped onto the corner, and it was fine. But
yeah, the idea is always to slow down before you have to slow down.
yes.
If you ever watch a race, they hit the brakes before they get to the corner.
Yeah.
Mr. Robinson, anything to add today?
Oh, no, sir. Life is good.
He never hits
Very good.
Robinson never hits the brakes.
No, he never hits the brakes. Full pedal to the metal. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Brian. And thank you out there, everybody, for joining us today. I also want to thank our audio engineer back at home base who puts this together and makes this sound as well as humanly possible, Jim Bigwood. Greg, our podcast producer, and of course, our creator is Bob Mixter. We have to get Bob on one of these sometime soon. Let everybody see who he is. We mention his name every 2 weeks.
Well, he's a bike enthusiast. We should test some e-bikes and have Bob be our tester.
Yeah, because he's quite a bicyclist, bike rider or whatever. Bike rider for motorbikes, bicyclist. Yes, right. He is.
Bicyclist.
Well, we're talking about doing some kind of a comparison coming up on electric bikes. So it would be a good idea to get him involved.
Trending.
Yep. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. If you have a chance, please catch MotorWeek on your local public television stations. If you're wondering what time we're on, go to motorweek.org, our website. On the upper right is about the show. Pull that tab down, put in your zip code. It'll pop up the station nearest you that carries us. Also, you can catch us on Tuesdays and several other times during the week on our cable partner over at Motor Trend. But you can watch almost everything we do anytime you wish at youtube.com/MotorWeek, including all of Ben Davis's famous retro reviews going back through our 40-year archive of trying to keep you informed of what you're about to buy or just what's going on in the auto industry. Till next time, for all of us at MotorWeek, I'm John Davis, and thank you for being a part of MotorWeek.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by rockauto.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.